I've known John for many years and known his family and the passion he has for the sport. And, to win today was just unbelievable for the Menard family, and to have Paul pull it off. Like he said, he was one of those young kids slipping around watching, had a dream, and today his dream came true.
And, John, all those years that you invested into the, Buick V6, and, you won some poles, and, but whatever would happen, the engine just probably wouldn't be there at the end of the race. How satisfying is it to finally claim a win here?
Well, it's really satisfying to have one that doesn't blow up, and we really got to thank everybody in the engine shop for that, because we worried about that here. But, yeah, it's really satisfying to see Chevrolet, General Motors in the winner's circle. It's just totally gratifying. It's after years of trying to do that, and the success we didn't have with those. So, but by God, we were fast.
Let's hear from our race winner now. Paul Menard, driver of the number 27 Nibco Menard Chevrolet, wins his first career NASCAR Sprint Cup Series win at none other than the Brickyard 400 presented by BigMachineRecords.com. Paul, talk about the significance, your emotion of winning one of the biggest events in our sport.
Man, I've been coming here for a long, long time, but not nearly as long as my dad. And to be the first one after all of his years of trying to win him a race at Indy, very special. 1989, I think, was my first year here. Spent 14, 15 years in a row just hanging out in the infield, being a fan. And 2007, got to race here. It was definitely the highlight of my career up until that point, and here we are in Victory Lane. It's unbelievable.
Open it up for questions. Again, raise your hand. Susie has the wireless. Let's go here to Lee. Go ahead.
Lee Spencer, Fox Sports. Talked a couple of weeks ago, and you said if there was any place that you could win, first time win aside, this was the place. Can you just talk about your childhood here, what your dad accomplished, watching Tony's championship and, just inevitably making the move with Slugger and, why that was the right decision going to Childers?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of great drivers have driven for my dad. Johnny Rutherford, Herm Johnson is the guy that kind of got everybody started in racing. Got my dad started way back in the 70s, and a lot of great drivers. A lot of he's had a lot of great friends through the years from Indy, and one of them was Richard. Robbie and Richard, came up and met. I was in the meeting. We're at a little pizza shop or somewhere in Eau Claire, and had a meeting, and they wanted to put together an IndyCar program, and always kind of kept in touch ever since. I kind of went back and forth, and the time was right for 2011 to pull the trigger and get it done. And you can't thank Richard enough for kind of going out on a limb with me and allowing me to bring Slugger with. Slugger's he's a great friend. He works as hard as anybody in this garage, and he's won Daytona 500 now. He's won a Brickyard 400.
Dick Mittman. Paul, growing up here and being around from the time you were a kid, why is it chose to drive stock cars rather than Indy cars?
Well, that's pretty easy. Grew up in Wisconsin. There's no feeder series for Indy cars. You can't race Indy cars being in Wisconsin. There's a lot of short tracks, a lot of Legends cars, a lot of late models, and that's kind of what we got into. We started doing the go-kart thing for a lot of years. When I turned, I guess it was 15 or 16, we started racing Legends cars and hooked up with Brian Reffner. They started up, actually bought out Richard's truck team. He was selling his truck team, and Brian Reffner came in to drive that, and he let me drive his late model one race, and we wound up winning the heat race and finished like 4th or something, and so we got late model, started racing that, and at one point we're racing 3-4 nights a week, and that's just Wisconsin short track racing.
Let's get a question over here if we can to Jenna, and then we'll go. Bob, did you have one? Okay, go ahead.
I have two questions. The first one, Jennifer, AP. Paul, you get a lot of flack because of your sponsorship. And Slugger had said earlier this year, he's like, that's not fair. He's not a kid with a silver spoon in his mouth. He works really hard. He puts in the time. He wants to be good at this. Does this make this more gratifying to you?
Yeah, I mean, we're winners in Sprint Cup, and that's a big deal. And to do it at Indy, even bigger deal. You can't change people's opinions. They're going to say what they want to say, and that's fine with me. We've we'll celebrate this, we'll enjoy it, and we're going to work hard for Pocono and try to make that chase. And whatever they say, you can't control it. I know what I'm capable of. I have total belief in Richard and Slugger and everybody, and we can. I think we can win a couple more.
My second question, I'm not sure who can answer this, but I was fascinated to listen over, I guess, the final 10 laps. Slugger seemed to be the only one talking. You were totally silent. When you cross the finish line, everybody erupts in celebration. You're like, that's the checkered, right? And
I didn't see it. I was looking at my fuel pressure.
We know that you're very quiet and you're very reserved by nature. What does it take to excite you? Like, what is an excited Paul Menard?
That's probably about as much emotion as you probably see out of me. But, I don't know. I've just always been a low-key guy. It doesn't make it any less special. It's very special for me. But, it's just something that we work hard for, something that Richard expects us to win. He's won a lot of races, and just really gratifying that we can pull it through.
Has anyone seen any kind of emotion?
My dad has.
I've got him mad a few times.
Yeah, I've heard him. He'll get fired up on the radio occasionally.
Oh, I think I yelled at you today, didn't I?
Probably did. Yeah. Probably have. That's okay.
Paul, Bob Kravitz, the Indianapolis Star. How soon after the race did you find your dad? Do you remember the first thing you said to him? And just to follow that up, how much fuel did you have left?
I'm not sure about the fuel. I saw my dad as soon as we pulled into Victory Lane. He came up to the window, and I think I said something like, 35 years of trying, here you go, and this one's for you. So it's definitely for him. He's been trying, put a lot of time and energy into winning at Indy, and it's a big deal.
Kenny Bruce of SceneDaily.com. Paul, I was going to ask you about the gas situation, but how confident were you, those last 10 or 20 laps that you were going to make it to the end and that you were going to be able to hold everybody off? And then also you mentioned earlier at the end of the race that you were here for the inaugural Brickyard 400. What were you doing at that time?
Sitting up in a suite in turn 4 for the inaugural one, and saw Rick Mast win the pole. I think it was here the whole weekend. The one Skoll car won the pole, and I think Harry Gant was second, but
I think we were second.
Were you? Yeah, you were.
I think we hit the wall coming off the corner trying to lead the first lap with Earnhardt.
What was the first question? I forgot.
How confident were you in the last 10 or 15 laps that you had enough to make it to the end and that you were going to be able to hold them off?
As soon as the jack dropped and we took out a pit road, Slugger said, "Save me fuel, long gears," and so under caution, we had another lap. I think we were going green that time, but caught up and just killed the motor, coasting as much as possible. The restart, you got to go past a couple cars. Once it kind of got cycled out, just started trying to maintain some kind of lap time with just being really easy on the throttle, easy off, earlier than normal, less brake, easy on. Once it got really strung out, I was lifting at the 250 mark when normally you drive to the 1. Just try not to use any brake, but still using the tires. Try to keep your roll speed fast, and there's probably about a 15 lap, maybe even 20 lap run or span where I wasn't even wide open. Get it up to like 8,500 RPM, and if I see Mark catch me a little bit in my mirror, I'd give a little bit more. If I saw him dropping back, I'd back off. So just really watching the mirror, trying to maintain some kind of lap time and gap with the cars behind me. And then we obviously kept track of Slugger kept telling me where Jeff was, the 24. He was catching us 2-3 seconds a lap, and when he got to 2 or 3 seconds behind us, he said take off, and the car was really good. Clean air is so important, and we had it right there, and the car was just awesome in clean air. We got behind early, wasn't as good, but played strategy to a T.
Bruce Meyer with SI.com. 2 questions for Paul. One, you really took a big step toward making the chase today with that victory. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think we're 14th now with the wild card. It's great. We got 5 or 6 races left. We got a lot of work to do. We have Richmond and New Hampshire Old Richmond before the chase starts, and those are two of our worst tracks, honestly. So we got a lot of work to do. We're going to rely on our teammates a lot. They typically run well at the short tracks, and we just got to get that program figured out. We feel really good about intermediate tracks. We have a couple of those. Looking forward to Atlanta.
For $1 million bucks.
For $1 million bucks, we're eligible for, thanks to Sprint, and.
You're eligible for the Sprint Summer Showdown and also eligible for the 2012 NASCAR Sprint All-Star Game.
That's right. I forgot about the All-Star. That's cool.
Yeah. Thank God for that.
Man,
I hate that challenge race.
Had a lot of tore-up race cars in that thing.
And Paul, also the fact that today was a perfect example of guys who are prepared to make bold moves, and Slugger might want to answer this also. How much can we expect to see some other guys between now and Richmond making, win or go home type gambles to get the victory in order to try to get in as a wild card?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to see it. You're going to see it. Anytime fuel mileage comes into play, there's guys that are going to run out, the guys that probably going to win the race, and it's just the Sprint Cup Series is just so competitive. It's so hard to pass. Everybody runs so close together. You got to gamble, and very rarely do you see a car just check out and win the race. A lot of strategy, a lot of clean air, and you're going to see it happen. Next few races.
Yeah, for us, I mean, I think we still got to be pushing, and we're 14th in points with a win, but that doesn't guarantee you a thing. There's a lot of things that could happen. Ryan Newman's currently in the top 10. He could fall out, take the spot away from us. So we got to keep pushing, be aggressive, and get inside the top 10 and make it that way, and not rely on this victory today.
We'll go Jenna and the gentleman in the back row.
Jennifer, AP Slugger, you've been really high on this team all year, and I know you wouldn't trade your first win being the Brickyard, but are you surprised it took this long?
Well, we had big shoes to fill. When we started the Monday after Homestead, we didn't have anything. We didn't have a truck, trailer, race cars, nothing. So to be a first-year team and win a race is just short of amazing to me. But we had great people at RCR. No one is belly ached. They all opened their arms. Really receptive people. Built us. Don't tell Richard, but this is our 15th new car this year. So
I see it in the financials.
But they didn't give us hand-me-downs. They let us build the cars how we wanted them. Richard let us hire the people we needed. Got a great pit crew, and just he let us do our job. And we run the race teams like we own them, and we manage our money, and we try to make sure we don't waste money, but we take what we need to be successful. And today was a living proof of that.
And real quick, Richard, what do you make of first-time race winners in all these big races this year? Bain in the 500 and Regan in the Southern 500, et cetera.
I think it just shows how competitive this sport is, and this car is so equal. You got to have the right people, the right driver. Everything has to come together to win in today's sport. You're not going to see anyone just take off and run away with it. Today you saw Jimmy Johnson sitting there running second for quite a while, and then gets back in traffic, and it's just hard to go. And like Slugger says, and Paul can tell you, track position is everything.
Mike Clef, WLFI TV, West Lafayette, Indiana. Paul, congratulations. In this room about 45 minutes ago, Regan and Jeff, Regan considers you a friend, but they got asked more about you than they got asked about their own performances, and they were genuinely thrilled to talk about you. And they both said that you're a highly respected driver among drivers. I know this is an awesome day for you, but what does it mean that other drivers are genuinely happy for you today?
Well, I hope Regan going to say that. I'm in his wedding, so. But for Jeff to say that, we've had run-ins on the track. Everybody has, but for a guy of his caliber to say that, it means a lot. He came to victory lane. Regan came to victory lane. I didn't realize that Regan finished third, so really happy for him too. Jeff. I watched Jeff win the inaugural Brickyard 400, so to have him come down in victory lane after finishing second to us, very special. And I've always gotten along great with Jeff and Regan, obviously.